Christophe Emmanuel, the question is it true that the top 5 terrorist organizations are not in St. Martin? And ISIS is the more known. Only Trinidad and Tobago has people supporting ISIS. However, Trinidad is not on the blacklist. FATF compliance is not about supporting ISIS or other terrorist organizations. It is about each self-respecting country belonging to the international family of nations having legislation in place which would avoid its financial and other designated non-financial institutions being abused by money launderers, terrorist organizations, or supporters wherever they may be in the world. In terms of Trinidad, this country has a history of being listed by the FATF, and only after hard work on their legislative structures, it was concluded during the last CFATF plenary in May this year that Trinidad has now sufficiently accepted all of the recommendations of the FATF and is now considered to have exited the enhanced scrutiny imposed previously on it due to the non-compliance with FATF standards. However, if you have visited the FATF website today, you will see Trinidad as a listed country. Has MOD seen illegal MLTF transactions to one of these top 5 groups in the world? To date, there have been unusual transactions from St. Martin to blacklisted and high-risk countries carried out. These transactions were reported to the FIU. After analysis of a selection of the unusual transactions, the FIU did conclude that there was a suspicion of terrorism financing. Does St. Martin have ISIS fighters like Trinidad? Not to my knowledge, but we have to stay vigilant and proactive. Are there any unusual money transactions related to terrorism financing? Is there any semblance of terrorist funding within the $30 billion of unusual transactions figure provided by the MOD previously? The reports submitted by the service providers to the FIU are mainly unusual money transaction reports. The FIU analyzes these reports, and based on the findings, a suspicion of money laundering or terrorism financing can arise. Incidentally, there were findings that gave rise to a suspicion of terrorism financing. These findings were reported to the relevant authorities. The FATF standard primarily aimed at combating money laundering. By combating money laundering in general, government can also be effective in preventing and combating potential Government can also be effective in preventing and combating potential financing of terrorism. In addition, the CFATF is at the moment screening St. Martin, not on its engagement in alleged terrorist activities or involvement with violent extremist groups, but on the compliance of its legislation with the FATF standards. If the legal framework of St. Martin is not living up to the FATF standards or recommendations to combat money laundering and terrorism financing, then St. Martin will be listed, to avoid using any color terminology to associate it with being listed. What are the consequences if St. Martin is listed? In short, well, actually, no, it's actually long. Look at the answers. This action would result in a hardship for everybody in St. Martin. Due to the fact that St. Martin is an import economy and a one-pillar economy, St. Martin is not self-sufficient on food and other products and is heavily reliant on tourism. Listing will not only put more pressure on St. Martin to take steps to ensure that it addresses the AML CFT deficiencies, but we all should be more concerned about the impact that any adverse action by the CFATF will have on the economy of St. Martin, and by extension the business community and the common man in the street. As a result of being listed, St. Martin stands to face hindrance with online shopping, with remittance from money transfer agencies, and with the transfer of money from local to external banks. Additionally, the aviation and business sectors that depend on the flow of goods and services from overseas will also face challenges, while St. Martin overseas, such as the Hefman and the Cabinet, and scholarship students who depend on salaries and regular stipends are likely to face problems as well. FATF Recommendation 19 stipulates that its members must take countermeasures against a jurisdiction that is not in compliance with the recommendations. These countermeasures are, amongst others, the following. A, requiring financial institutions to apply specific elements of enhanced due diligence. B, introducing enhanced relevant reporting mechanisms or systematic reporting of financial transactions. C, refusing the establishment of subsidiaries or branches or representative offices of financial institutions from the country concerned, or otherwise taking into account the fact that the relevant financial institution is from a country that does not have adequate AML CFT systems.
GEBE has been faithfully serving the communities of St. Martin, powering your home and our economy. Come rain or shine, our qualified team of professionals are working hard 24 hours a day to provide you and your family with safe, reliable electricity and water. We use the latest technologies and test our products daily to maintain the highest international standards. Our friendly staff is always there to assist you, whether in person, over the phone, or online. We are committed to constantly improving our products and services, making them more efficient, effective, and environmentally friendly to serve you better today and our next generation of clients tomorrow. GEBE, powering a brighter future.
Our friend Megawati is here with tips to save you energy. 1. Turn your airco temperature up. 2. Use a ceiling fan instead. 3. Buy energy-saving products. Save some green with NVGEBE.
It's been said that behind every door, possibility awaits. How much possibility depends on which door you open first. Every day, we help our customers discover the possibilities in their lives. It all starts with a conversation. Scotiabank. Discover what's possible.
What the banks always tell us, and one of the things they harp on significantly, is corresponding banking is one issue, and central bank regulations. So coming into corresponding banking, because the minister mentioned, one of the things we're going to lose corresponding banking. Madam Chair Lady, I am not able to find, I've gone to the website of the CFATF, for example, and I look at all of the public statements that they have issued over time. And when I did, I looked at those public statements and then I juxtaposed that to the banking activity of said country. For example, Haiti had a public statement, okay? When you look at the date of the public statement, I'm gonna try and pull it up right now, the internet's moving a little slow. I think I have it here. Let's go. Haiti, okay. So Haiti has strategic deficiencies, okay? And they put that statement out in May of 2017. Madam Chair Lady, did you know that looking at banking activity from a financial perspective increased in both 2017 and 2018? They didn't have a bunch of bank closures. They didn't have less amount of transfers. They didn't have a single bank close. As a matter of fact, Madam Chair Lady, the number of banks, of commercial banks operating in Haiti increased from 17 to 19. This information is right here available for anybody. Simply Google Haiti list of banks, and it'll show you 2016, 2017, 2018. I'm saying this to stop creating the notion out there that a public statement means the end of St. Martin. We are lying to the public, okay? And then other political goons out there want to write letters to follow up with this nonsense. That is not what it is. We are members of the CFATF, okay? We are part of it. If a public statement has to come out, and I am not saying that we want a public statement to come out, but let's be real. It does not definitively mean all of a sudden banks are going to shut down. That is simply untrue and unfounded, and the historical evidence I have before me when I look at another place that had a public statement. Trinidad and Tobago, May 31st, 2017. As a matter of fact, the state of Trinidad and Tobago, high risk and other monitored jurisdictions under the FATF website, Madam Chair, Trinidad Tobago is still listed as we speak under the same public statement. Who does more bank transactions in the Caribbean other than Dominican Republic and Bahamas than Trinidad? Nobody else. Again, I understand you all want to put a framework as to why the law is important. What I am not going to tolerate as a member of parliament is to have ministers and their team come in here and skew the reality. A public statement is not equal to doom for St. Martin. No. And anybody out there saying that is creating a false pretense. Is it the best thing for St. Martin? No. Is it something that we want to encourage? No. Is it something that we should make an effort to avoid? Sure. But at what cost? At the cost of our autonomy? At the cost of the average person being able to open a bank account in St. Martin? At the cost of the banks continuing to use the laws that you're bringing here today to oppress our people financially? No, then we have to weigh the costs. And again, you want to put out a public statement, CFATF? No problem. The Parliament of St. Martin, which is the ones that would decide on a law like this, decided in whatever date, on August meeting of so-and-so, to vote against. CFATF should do their homework and follow that public meeting and see why it would get voted down. And listen to our issues that we have with the law. Our issue with the law has nothing to do with the recommendations of CFATF. It is the way the law has been brought to this parliament and goes way outside the bounds of what CFATF recommendations are. Madam Chair Lady, I asked the question. I don't know if I missed it, and maybe it's in the written answers. I don't have those before me. But I asked specifically, in this particular law, where the agenda points say, these laws are here to address international regulations. In other words, it should be only for that. I said, outline to me article by article, which is for CFATF, and what is outside those bounds. Because I know for a fact, okay, a lot of the things that have been brought here today, and Madam Chair Lady, I read your article as well, where you also concur with exactly what I said in the last meeting. You need to separate what you're trying to sneak in and slip into this law. Because you know what, well, we here, since this law reached, let's address this, I don't know, an issue of foundations registered at this. Let's address this crown witness nonsense that we want to put that have absolutely nothing to do with CFATF. But we're going to create a scenario out there so we as members of parliament look bad and irresponsible when what we are doing is trying to protect the very citizens of this country. If anybody knows the how you say, the level of how you sometimes confuse a public with data. And having such a vast law, the average citizen is not going to do what we members of parliament have been doing. MP Emmanuel and I were very clear last meeting as to the specifics of what the issues are with this law. We never said here anything about, well, we don't care about black. No, but not at the cost of our people. I would like the people of St. Martin, those viewing online, those listening on the radio to understand, we members of parliament that are so vocal about the issues in this is because we are here to protect you, the people of St. Martin. You have seen what the banks are doing to every single person in this country. Not no elite, no, there's pensioners, there's poor people, there's rich people, there's everybody getting it from these banks.
Hey, Ma. How you doing? You busy?
I hear, just paying some bills, taking care of business, you know what it is?
I know, you're doing your online banking.
I don't have to stand in those long lines to pay bills. I can transfer when I want. I can check my account wherever. It's like the bank open 24/7. I even here checking the statement right now as we're talking. How's Miami?
Well, that's why I'm calling. I'm finishing up a few songs now, but I'm afraid that studio time might be more than I thought. And I was wondering if I could get some help with some funds, and I could pay you back as soon as I get back to St. Martin.
Let me check my account. How much you need?
I think 500 should be enough.
I can transfer it to you while online. Direct from me to you. No problem.
Great. Thank you so much, Ma. I'll get online with Bib now.
Alright, darling. You know who you're for?
I need to know who you're for.
Contact WIB today for your complete personal online banking experience. Available for all mobile devices. The Windward Islands Bank, now your online banking partner in progress.
The answers. Madam Chair, I'm not pleased with the answer he gave, especially relating to the terrorism part and Trinidad and Tobago. And again, the minister dressed it up to make it sound of what the compliance is and what they're doing. But Madam Chair, I'm talking about the meat of the matter. What is money laundering? What is it? What does it entail? And to combat terrorism, what does that entail? How is the country? Because Madam Chair, you can't simply come and say, this is what is happening and this is what is being done. No, you're asking this country, you're asking members of parliament here to approve laws to combat terrorism, financing, and money laundering. So good. I said the last time, there was over 130 individuals that left the country of Trinidad and Tobago to go and fight with ISIS. Madam Chair, I went and I did the research. I looked it up. I would like the Minister of Justice to know the cost of one ticket from Trinidad to Syria. The cost of one ticket. Where did that money come from? Somebody had to fund that money. Boarding, lodging, food. That you are funding terrorism by enabling human bodies to go and fight for a terrorist group. And it's only coming from one particular country in the diaspora, in the Caribbean region, Trinidad and Tobago. What have they done to combat terrorism financing? Because I haven't seen no public statement given to that country for funding and financing terrorism. That's why I asked the question, has there been any inclination here in St. Martin? Anything, any semblance, anything, that we are sponsoring terrorism in any form, fashion, manner, any way? Why I said that, Madam Chair? Because I put out the article talking that the laws and the organization is biased towards small islands. It's biased. Because it can't be, Madam Chair, a country of 1.3 million people, 1.3 million people, a nation, in comparison to an island or another country with 60, 70,000 people, should be held with the same standards when it comes to combating terrorism, financing, and they have been the ones supporting terrorism. It can't be the same, Madam Chair. It can't be. It simply cannot be. So I'm asking the Minister of Justice, don't simply come and tell me that Trinidad is. No, I want to know. I want to know the source, the stem. Where has it come from? What steps have they taken to prevent that from happening? Because that's supporting terrorism. And you're bringing a law here, and asking us to approve that law, that same law. But they are sponsoring terrorism. They are sponsoring terrorism. And here's the other thing, Madam Chair. When I listen to the MUT, in terms of mentioning the unusual transactions that have taken place in St. Martin, it is up in the billions, Madam Chair, of unusual transactions. So I ask the question. Out of that amount of unusual transactions taking place that the MUT made mention is happening here in St. Martin, how many has been prosecuted by the prosecutor's office? How many? What has been done by the prosecutor's office? With the billions that have been recorded or overlooked or mentioned by the MUT.
For the sake of the public, allow me to reiterate that the three draft laws that we have received from government are amendments to the Penal Code, amendments to the Civil Code, and amendments to the Criminal Procedure Code, in the latter case to such an extent that we have received a new draft of the Criminal Procedure Code. With respect to the Penal Code, it is written in the elucidation that the reason for these changes are, en nou I quote, aanscherping, bestrijding, terrorisme en enige andere noodzakelijke aanpassingen. So to sharpen the combating of terrorism and some other necessary amendments in the case of the Penal Code. With respect to the Civil Code, it alludes as well to the OESO standards to ban bearer shares. In the case of the Criminal Procedure Code, it needs to be noted that this draft from government, or this draft code from government, went to the Council of Advice 3 times. And I emphasize this to show the depth of this particular draft. In the 3 laws, besides the matter of anti-money laundering and anti-terrorism financing, you have reference to the Human Trafficking Report of the United States of America, as I mentioned before, the OESO standards, and then, of course, the anti-money laundering and anti-terrorism financing. Now I want to focus a moment on the draft before us, which is the Criminal Code, and the changes that are being proposed now to the draft or to the law, the Criminal Code, which is current on St. Martin, and that is the one of 2013. Minister, upon my request in one of the meetings dealing with previous legislation regarding this topic of anti-terrorism and anti-money laundering, you provided the Parliament of St. Martin by letter of the 2nd of April, our IS number 818, you provided an overview of all of the necessary changes regarding the anti-money laundering and the anti-terrorism financing. And very specifically, you mentioned that where the Criminal Code is concerned, there are 5 recommendations by the CFATF that needed to be made or to be amended in the criminal code. Very specifically, Minister, according to your overview, recommendations 3, 5, 6, 7, and 36. These, according to the Ministry of Justice, were the recommendations that needed to be taken up in the criminal code. The council, this proposal to amend the criminal code was with the Council of Advice for a period of 8 months. And now I want to zoom in on some of the most, in my opinion, salient points by the Council of Advice. We're talking 3 very important codes for the people and the government of St. Martin: Civil Code, Criminal Code, and Criminal Procedure Code. One of the issues that, in my opinion, is insufficiently reacted to by the government as raised by the Council of Advice is the matter of the concordance of legislation, the so-called concordantie beginsel. And on more than one occasion in their advice, the Council of Advice refers to this concordantie beginsel. I translated concordance. It means, in our situation, to as much as possible take into account similar legislation within the kingdom. Article 39.